The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the soft blue glow of 1,000 different technologies, each species contributing their own methods of maintaining the massive space station that served as the political heart of known civilization. Ambassador Chen Wei sat perfectly still in the human delegation's assigned seating area, a modest section tucked between the waste management representatives from Proxima 7 and the mineral rights lobbyists from the Asteroid Belt Confederation. The positioning wasn't accidental. For 300 years, humanity had occupied this exact spot in the grand hierarchy of galactic politics. Not quite important enough for prime seating, but too useful to completely ignore. They were the galaxy's maintenance crew, its janitors, its problem solvers for issues too tedious or dangerous for more advanced species to handle. Council Speaker Vorthak, a towering crystalline being, whose species had mastered faster-than-light travel when humans were still figuring out agriculture, activated the chamber's attention field. The constant murmur of 1,000 conversations died instantly. Today's session addresses the ongoing crisis in the Outer Rim territories, Vorthak announced, his voice carrying through translation matrices to reach every species present. The pirate fleets have grown bold enough to attack our shipping lanes directly. 3 major trade routes have been completely disrupted. Chen listened without expression as various species offered their input. The Keitharan Empire suggested deploying their battle cruisers, but only if their territorial claims were expanded. The Zephyrian Confederation proposed hiring mercenary fleets, provided they received exclusive mining rights to any cleared systems. The Mechanical Hegemony offered to build automated defense platforms, naturally requiring massive resource commitments and technological licensing fees. Every solution came with a price tag that would bankrupt smaller species or expand the power of those already dominant. Chen had seen this pattern countless times before. What about the humans? The question came from Ambassador Zillith, representing one of the minor species whose cargo ships had suffered the worst attacks. Her people were merchants and traders, lacking both military might and political influence. They've handled similar situations before. The chamber fell into what Chen had come to recognize as the standard pattern of dismissive murmuring. Vorthak's crystalline form shifted through several colors before settling on a pale amber that indicated mild irritation. The human delegation is, of course, welcome to contribute their perspective, Vorthak said in the tone one might use when asking a child to clean up their toys. Chen rose slowly, his simple black suit a stark contrast to the elaborate robes, environmental suits, and exotic clothing worn by other delegates. He moved to the speaking platform with careful, measured steps. Honored representatives, Chen began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. Humanity offers the same solution we've provided for 3 centuries. We'll handle the pirate problem. The Keitharan delegate, General Thorvax, let out a sound that the translation matrix interpreted as dismissive laughter. With what fleet, human, your species operates perhaps 24 ships capable of system-to-system travel. These pirates command hundreds of vessels, including captured military equipment from 12 different civilizations. Chen nodded acknowledgement. That's accurate, General. We do operate a modest fleet. Then how do you propose to accomplish what our combined battle groups cannot? This from Admiral Kirinth of the Zephyrian Navy, her aquatic form rippling with what Chen recognized as amusement. The same way we always have, Chen replied simply. We solve problems. The chamber erupted in the cacophony of multiple species, expressing various forms of derision, amusement, and outright disbelief. Chen waited patiently for the noise to die down. Vorthak's form cycled through several colors before settling on deep blue, indicating confusion. Ambassador Chen, with all due respect to your species' admirable work ethic, this situation requires military force on a scale humanity simply cannot provide. Chen's expression didn't change. Humanity doesn't require military force to solve problems. We require authorization to act. Authorization for what, exactly? Complete authority to address the pirate threat using whatever methods we deem necessary, with full council backing and immunity from prosecution for any actions taken in the course of operations. The chamber fell silent. Such broad authorization was typically reserved for major military powers or during extreme emergencies. The idea of granting it to humanity struck most delegates as somewhere between amusing and absurd. General Thorvax leaned forward, his massive frame bristling with barely contained scorn. And in exchange for this, unlimited authority, what does humanity offer? And in one. Chen's slight smile would have been invisible to most species present, but several of the more observant delegates noticed the subtle change in his demeanor. Complete elimination of the pirate threat within 6 months. All trade routes reopened. All captured vessels and cargo returned to their rightful owners. All pirate bases destroyed or abandoned. And if you fail, Admiral Kirinth asked, then humanity will withdraw from all Council activities and cease providing our services to any galactic community member, permanently. The silence that followed was the kind that made even veteran diplomats uncomfortable. Humanity's services had become so integral to galactic civilization that most species had forgotten what life was like before humans arrived. Who would maintain the deep space communication relays? Who would handle hazardous material cleanup? Who would take the dangerous jobs that kept commerce flowing and colonies supplied? Chen continued speaking into the stunned quiet. However, when we succeed, the galactic community will acknowledge a simple truth that has been ignored for 3 centuries. Which is, Vorthak's color had shifted to a nervous green, that humanity has been providing services at rates far below our actual worth. We've accepted this arrangement because we believed in the value of galactic cooperation. But every favor we've done, every impossible task we've completed, every dangerous mission we've accepted while others found excuses to avoid them, all of that represents a debt that has never been properly acknowledged. Chen's voice remained perfectly calm. But something in his tone made even the largest delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. When we clear the outer rim of pirates, the galactic community will formally recognize that this debt exists, and then we'll begin discussing appropriate compensation for 3 centuries of undervalued service. General Thorvax attempted to regain control of the conversation. This is presumptuous in the extreme. Your species has been fairly compensated according to standard council guidelines. Guidelines that were established by species who had never performed the services in question. Chen replied. Tell me, General, what would it cost to hire Ketheron forces to manually repair a quantum communication array in hard vacuum while under hostile fire? What would the Zephyrian Confederation charge to clear toxic waste from a failed terraforming project? How much would the mechanical hegemony want to evacuate civilians from a collapsing space station with no docking facilities? Each question landed with precision. These were all missions humanity had completed in recent years, accepting minimal payment while other species found technical or legal reasons why their forces couldn't handle such tasks. Chen gestured to the assembly. We've done the work others wouldn't do, gone places others couldn't go, and solved problems others couldn't solve. We've done it for 300 years at bargain rates, because we believed cooperation was more important than profit. He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. But cooperation requires mutual respect, and mutual respect requires honest acknowledgement of value provided. The pirate crisis offers an opportunity to correct this imbalance. Ambassador Zillith spoke up from her small delegation area. What kind of compensation would humanity consider appropriate? Chen's smile broadened slightly. That would depend on how the pirate situation resolves, wouldn't it? If we fail, humanity withdraws, and the question becomes irrelevant. If we succeed, he let the implication hang in the air. Vorthak's crystalline form cycled through rapid color changes before settling on a deep red that indicated serious concern. This is highly irregular. The Council cannot make open-ended commitments without knowing the specific terms involved. Of course not, Chen agreed. Which is why we're simply asking for authorization to handle the pirate problem, with the understanding that success will lead to broader discussions about humanity's role in galactic civilization. Admiral Kirinth's aquatic form rippled with agitation. And you believe 6 months is sufficient to accomplish what our combined fleets have failed to do in 2 years? We believe 6 months is generous, Chen replied. The casual confidence in that statement sent a ripple of unease through the chamber. Most species knew humans as careful, methodical workers who never overpromised. The idea that they considered 6 months generous for such a massive undertaking was deeply unsettling. General Thorvax made one final attempt to assert dominance. Very well. If humanity is foolish enough to attempt this impossible task, the Kitharan Empire will not object. When you fail, at least the galaxy will finally understand the limitations of human capabilities. When we succeed, Chen corrected gently, the galaxy will finally understand that human capabilities have never had the limitations others assumed. The vote, when it came, was closer than anyone expected. Major powers voted against the proposal, but minor species and colony worlds supported it overwhelmingly. They remembered who had saved their settlements when disasters struck, who had restored their communications when systems failed, who had kept commerce flowing when others found excuses not to venture into dangerous territory. The authorization passed by a narrow margin. Chen bowed formally to the assembly. Humanity thanks the Council for this opportunity. We'll begin operations immediately. As he walked back to his modest seating area, Chen's mind was already focused on the communications he needed to send. The galaxy thought it was authorizing a desperate gesture from an overconfident minor species. They had no idea they had just given humanity permission to collect on 3 centuries of accumulated debt. By the time Chen reached his seat, the first coded transmissions were already racing through quantum communication arrays toward every human ship, station, and settlement in known space. 3 simple words that would change everything. Payment time arrived. The galaxy would learn soon enough what humanity was actually capable of when they stopped pretending to be just another minor species grateful for scraps from the galactic table. 300 years of careful observation, meticulous planning, and patient preparation were about to pay dividends that would reshape the balance of power forever. But for now, Chen simply sat quietly in humanity's assigned section, listening to other species debate the implications of what they had just authorized, blissfully unaware that they had just sealed their own fate. Captain Sarah Martinez stood on the bridge of the cargo freighter Times Steady Profit *, watching her navigation officer plot what appeared to be a routine supply run to the mining colonies in the Kepler sector. To any outside observer, the ship looked like exactly what its registration claimed. A modest human trading vessel, carrying industrial equipment and basic supplies to frontier settlements. The observers were wrong about almost everything. Captain, her communications officer reported, we're receiving the standard pirate warning broadcasts. 3 different groups claiming territorial control over this shipping lane. Sarah nodded calmly. Acknowledged. Maintain course and speed. The Times Steady Profit Times was one of 18 cargo vessels currently moving through pirate-controlled space, each following seemingly independent routes toward legitimate destinations. What the pirates couldn't know was that every ship was part of a carefully coordinated operation that had taken 3 centuries to prepare. Contact on long-range sensors, the tactical officer announced. Configuration matches known pirate vessels. They're moving to intercept. Time to contact? Sarah asked. 14 minutes at current velocities. Sarah opened the ship-wide communication channel. All hands, prepare for operational status. Engineering, bring auxiliary systems online. Marines, stand by for deployment authorization. The transformation that followed would have shocked any galactic observer. Hidden panels slid open throughout the ship, revealing equipment that had never appeared on any official manifest. The cargo holds reconfigured themselves into launch bays. The industrial equipment revealed itself as sophisticated military hardware that surpassed anything currently deployed by major galactic powers. Most importantly, the crew that had appeared to number 23 suddenly grew to over 200, as personnel emerged from concealed sections throughout the vessel. Pirate vessel is hailing us, the communications officer reported. Put them through. The main screen flickered to life, showing a typical pirate captain. Scar-faced, heavily armed, surrounded by crew members trying to look intimidating. Sarah had seen hundreds of variations on this same scene over the years. Unknown cargo vessel. You are entering claimed territory of the Blood Star Consortium, the pirate captain announced. Prepare to be boarded for inspection and taxation. Sarah smiled politely. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Captain. We're on a schedule. The pirate captain's expression shifted to amused confusion. I don't think you understand the situation. We have 12 ships in this system. You have 1. Surrender your cargo, and you might live through this. Counter-proposal, Sarah replied, her tone remaining conversational. Withdraw your ships immediately, and you might live through this. I am Endiverse. I am Endiverse. I am Endiverse. The pirates burst into laughter. Sarah waited patiently for them to finish. Your ship isn't even armed, the pirate captain said when he finally stopped laughing. We've scanned your hull. No weapon signatures. No military-grade shielding. Nothing but cargo containers and basic ship systems. You scanned what we wanted you to scan, Sarah corrected gently. The pirates were still processing this statement when the Times' steady profits times true nature revealed itself. Weapon ports opened along the hull, revealing artillery that made the pirates' captured military equipment look like antique museum pieces. Sensor arrays deployed that could track individual asteroids in a debris field from 3-star systems away. Most unsettling of all, the ship's energy signature suddenly spiked to levels that indicated fusion plants far more powerful than any civilian vessel should possess. What? The pirate captain began. We've been watching your organization for 18 months, Sarah said, her pleasant tone unchanged. We know the location of every ship, every base, every supply depot, every hidden weapons cache, and every civilian hostage you're holding. She gestured to her tactical officer, who transmitted a data packet to the pirate vessel. What you're looking at now is a complete intelligence profile of the Bloodstar Consortium. Ship manifests, personnel files, operational plans, financial records, and detailed layouts of your base installations. The pirate captain's face went pale as he reviewed the information. This is impossible. These are classified files. Some of this information exists only on isolated systems. Nothing is isolated from us, Sarah replied. We've been inside your networks since before you knew you had networks. We've been tracking your movements since before you decided to become pirates. We know what you're going to do before you do. The tactical display on the pirate ship showed something that made their captain's blood freeze. 16 additional contacts had just appeared on sensors, surrounding his entire fleet. Ships that hadn't been there moments before were now in perfect attack positions. Stealth technology, the pirate captain whispered. One of many technologies we've chosen not to share with the galactic community, Sarah confirmed. Along with our advancement in weapons systems, defensive capabilities, sensor networks, and information warfare. She leaned forward slightly in her captain's chair. For 3 centuries, we've allowed other species to believe they understood human capabilities. We've taken their assignments, solved their problems, and accepted their condescending payments while carefully studying everything they did, everything they built, and everything they thought they kept secret. The pirate captain was frantically signaling his fleet, but his communications were being jammed by systems he couldn't even detect. Your choice is simple, Sarah continued. Surrender immediately. Provide full cooperation in locating and releasing all civilian hostages, and submit to judgment by the legitimate authorities of the systems you've been terrorizing. Do this, and you'll live to see trial. And if we refuse? Sarah's smile disappeared entirely. Then, you'll discover what 3 centuries of accumulated human innovation looks like when it's no longer constrained by diplomatic politeness. The pirate captain looked at his tactical display again. His 12 ships were now completely surrounded by vessels that had appeared from nowhere, carrying weapons that his scanners couldn't even properly analyze. Worse, his own computer systems were reporting internal security breaches that seemed to be spreading through his entire fleet simultaneously. You're taking control of our ships, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. We took control of your ships when this conversation began, Sarah corrected. We're just choosing to let you maintain life support systems while you make your decision. As if to emphasize the point, weapons systems throughout the pirate fleet suddenly powered down without input from their operators. Navigation systems locked onto courses that would take them directly to the nearest legitimate system authority. Communication systems began broadcasting automated surrender signals. How long have you been able to do this? The pirate captain asked. Do what specifically? Disable ships remotely? About 200 years. Build invisible ships? About 150 years. Predict exactly where pirate fleets would be and what they'd be carrying? About 50 years. Sarah stood and walked closer to the screen. Here's what the galactic community never understood about humans. We don't just solve problems. We study them. We learn from them. We prepare for them. Every challenge we've faced, every impossible task we've completed, every dangerous mission we've accepted, we've used all of it to become better. She gestured around her bridge. This ship represents 3 centuries of accumulated knowledge. Every technological advance we've observed, every tactical innovation we've encountered, every strategic concept we've studied, we've improved upon all of it. The pirate captain's hands were shaking. The galactic powers, they'll never accept this. If humanity has this kind of capability, they'll accept it because they have no choice, Sarah said simply. And because we're not interested in conquest. We're interested in payment. Payment? 300 years of services rendered below market value. 300 years of dangerous missions accepted when others found excuses. 300 years of being treated like junior partners in a civilization we've been protecting. Sarah returned to her captain's chair. Your surrender will be the first installment on that payment. Every pirate base we eliminate, every trade route we secure, every hostage we rescue, all of it represents value provided by humanity. Value that has been consistently underestimated. 17H. The tactical display showed the pirate fleet being efficiently rounded up by ships that seemed to materialize from empty space. Similar scenes were playing out across 17 other systems, as humanity's hidden fleet moved with clockwork precision to dismantle 3 centuries of pirate operations in a single, coordinated strike. The Council thought they were authorizing a desperate gamble, Sarah continued. They had no idea they were giving us permission to demonstrate our actual capabilities. She activated her ship's communication system, sending coded signals to the other vessels in the operation. Phase 1 complete across all sectors, came the reports. Pirate fleets neutralized. Proceeding to Phase 2. The pirate captain looked up from his readings with growing horror. Phase 2? Base elimination, Sarah said matter-of-factly. We know the location of every pirate stronghold, every hidden shipyard, every secret weapons depot. By this time tomorrow, they'll all be gone. That's impossible. Some of those bases are built into asteroids, hidden in nebulae, disguised as civilian installations. We built most of them, Sarah said, her statement hitting the bridge like a physical blow. The silence that followed was absolute. For 3 centuries, humans have been the galaxy's problem solvers, Sarah explained. Who do you think designed the security systems for hidden bases? Who supplied the communication equipment? Who provided the navigation systems that allowed pirates to move through uncharted space? The pirate captain's face went from pale to ashen. You've been controlling the pirates? We've been managing them, keeping their activities within acceptable parameters, making sure they never became a genuine threat to galactic civilization, while ensuring they remained just problematic enough to justify continued human involvement in security matters. Sarah's smile returned, but there was nothing pleasant about it now. The galactic community wanted humans to handle their pirate problem. They never asked how we were planning to do it. They never wondered why we were so confident about the timeline. They never questioned whether we might have information sources they didn't know about. She gestured to the tactical display, where the systematic dismantling of pirate operations continued across multiple star systems. Every pirate captain, every base commander, every fleet admiral. They all thought they were independent operators. They had no idea they were part of a 3-century-long demonstration project. The pirate captain stared at her in horror. A demonstration of what? Human capability when we stop pretending to be limited by others' expectations. Sarah opened a new communication channel, broadcasting to every ship in the fleet. All vessels, prepare for Phase 3. It's time to collect payment. Across the galaxy, similar messages were being received by human operatives who had spent centuries positioning themselves in the shadows of galactic civilization. Scientists who had been studying alien technology while pretending to struggle with basic problems. Engineers who had been quietly improving upon every system they'd been asked to repair. Intelligence officers who had been mapping every secret, every weakness, every hidden asset of every major power. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's 3-century apprenticeship was over, and the bill for their education was about to come due. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened exactly 48 hours after the pirate operations ended. Ambassador Chen Wei noted with satisfaction that every major power had managed to attend despite the short notice. Fear, he reflected, was an excellent motivator for prompt scheduling. Council Speaker Vorthak's crystalline form cycled through rapid color changes that Chen's decades of diplomatic experience translated as barely controlled panic. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates tried to process intelligence reports that challenged everything they thought they knew about the galactic balance of power. The human delegation will present their operational report, Vorthak announced, his voice carrying harmonics that indicated extreme stress. Chen rose from humanity's modest seating area and walked to the central speaking platform with the same measured pace he had used 3 days earlier. But this time, every eye in the chamber tracked his movement, with the kind of attention usually reserved for apex predators. Honored representatives, Chen began, his tone as calm and professional as ever. Humanity is pleased to report the complete success of our anti-piracy operations. He activated the chamber's central display, showing a star map of the affected regions. What had been a chaotic patchwork of red zones indicating pirate-controlled space was now marked entirely in green. In accordance with our agreement, all pirate fleets have been neutralized. All trade routes have been reopened. All captured vessels and cargo have been returned to their rightful owners. All civilian hostages have been rescued and are receiving appropriate medical attention. The display shifted to show detailed statistics, numbers that should have been impossible to achieve in just 48 hours. 1,734 pirate vessels captured or destroyed. 89 base installations eliminated. 43,216 individuals taken into custody. 0 civilian casualties. 0 friendly casualties. Admiral Kirinth of the Zephyrian Navy raised a tentacle, her aquatic form rippling with agitation. How is this possible? Our combined intelligence services estimated over 300 separate pirate strongholds in the affected regions. Your report shows you eliminated every single one. Chen nodded acknowledgement. That's correct, Admiral. Though I should clarify that our intelligence counted 417 separate installations. Your services missed a few. 12. The uncomfortable silence that followed was broken by General Thorvax of the Kitharan Empire. You're claiming human intelligence capabilities superior to our combined networks? I'm reporting facts, General. Human intelligence capabilities have been superior to combined galactic networks for approximately 2 centuries. We simply chose not to mention this before now. Chen gestured, and the display shifted to show a detailed organizational chart of pirate operations that extended far beyond what any galactic power had suspected. For example, your intelligence services believed the Bloodstar Consortium was an independent organization. In reality, it was a subsidiary of the Crimson Fleet, which was itself a front operation for the Shadow Cartel, which was ultimately controlled by a consortium of legitimate businesses operating out of the core systems. He paused to let this information sink in. We have complete financial records, communication logs, and personnel files for all organizations involved, including the legitimate businesses that were funding pirate operations to drive up shipping costs and eliminate competition. Ambassador Zilith leaned forward in her seat. You're talking about criminal conspiracies involving some of the largest corporations in the galaxy. Correct. And those corporations will be presented with a choice similar to the one we offered the pirates. Full cooperation and restitution, or complete exposure of their operations to galactic law enforcement. General Thorvax's voice carried a dangerous edge. This sounds suspiciously like blackmail, Ambassador. Chen's expression remained perfectly neutral. General, would you prefer we turn our evidence over to your military intelligence services to handle through proper channels? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Everyone in the chamber knew that several major Kitharan corporations were listed in the intelligence files Chen was referencing. The point, Chen continued, is that humanity has successfully completed the mission assigned by this council. We've eliminated the pirate threat, restored safe commerce, and done so ahead of schedule and under budget. Vorthak's crystalline form had settled on a deep purple that Chen recognized as profound unease. The methods you employed. Your technological capabilities. They far exceed anything in our intelligence assessments. That's correct, Speaker. Our technological capabilities far exceed anything in anyone's intelligence assessments. Chen activated a new display that showed detailed specifications for the ships and equipment used in the anti-piracy operations. The technology levels represented advances that should have taken centuries to develop. For example, the stealth systems demonstrated during our operations represent a fusion of gravitational manipulation, quantum field dynamics, and exotic matter engineering that we've been refining for the past 150 years. Admiral Kirinth's form pulsed with what Chen interpreted as shock. Gravitational manipulation? That's purely theoretical. Our best scientists say practical application is impossible with current understanding of physics. Your scientists are working with incomplete information, Chen replied. Human scientists have been studying gravitational manipulation since we first encountered Zephyrian theoretical papers on the subject. We simply chose to continue our research privately, rather than publish our findings. The implications of this statement rippled through the chamber like a physical wave. Every species had shared their most advanced theoretical research through academic exchanges, believing such cooperation advanced galactic civilization as a whole. The idea that humans had been secretly turning theory into practical technology was staggering. Chen continued his presentation without pause. Our fusion plant designs exceed anything currently deployed by military vessels. Our weapons systems incorporate energy manipulation techniques that make conventional shielding obsolete. Our sensor networks can track individual ships anywhere in the galaxy, in real time. He gestured again, and the display showed a real-time map of galactic space with every major warship, trading vessel, and private craft, marked with precise accuracy. For instance, I can tell you that the Keitharan Dreadnought Times, Warrior's Pride Times, is currently positioned 3 light-years outside this system, ostensibly on patrol but actually monitoring this council session. The Zephyrian Battle Group Times Deep Current Times is maintaining a similar watch from the opposite vector. The mechanical hegemony has 6 stealth probes gathering intelligence from what they believe are undetectable positions. The color drained from delegates' faces as they realized humanity had been tracking their secret military movements in real time. This level of surveillance capability, General Thorvax said slowly, represents a strategic advantage that could destabilize the entire galactic balance of power. Only if we choose to use it for destabilization, Chen replied. Which brings us to the matter of payment for services rendered. The word payment seemed to hit the chamber like a physical blow. Every delegate suddenly understood that this demonstration of overwhelming capability was just the opening negotiation position. Chen walked closer to the assembled delegates, his movement causing several to unconsciously lean back in their seats. For 3 centuries, humanity has provided services to the galactic community at rates that were, let's say, charitable. We've accepted minimal compensation for maximum effort because we believed in the value of cooperation and mutual advancement. His tone remained conversational, but something in his posture suggested the easygoing human diplomat was no longer entirely present. But cooperation requires honest acknowledgement of value provided. And it's become clear that the galactic community has been fundamentally dishonest about humanity's contributions. Chen activated a new display showing 3 centuries of human service records. Mission after dangerous mission, each compensated at rates far below what other species would have charged for similar work. Deep space communication relay maintenance in hostile environments. Toxic waste cleanup from failed terraforming projects, emergency evacuation of civilian populations from disaster zones, dangerous salvage operations in unstable systems, defense of colony worlds too poor to afford proper security. Each item on the list appeared with detailed cost comparisons, showing what other species had charged for similar services. The total value of services provided, calculated at standard galactic rates, comes to approximately 417 trillion standard credits. The total compensation received was 12 trillion standard credits. The mathematical reality hit the chamber like cold water. Humanity was owed over 400 trillion credits by galactic civilization. Of course, Chen continued. We're reasonable beings. We understand that the galactic community may not have liquid assets sufficient to cover this obligation immediately. Ambassador Zillith found her voice. What are you proposing? Chen's smile returned. But it was no longer the friendly expression delegates were accustomed to seeing. We're proposing a restructuring of humanity's relationship with galactic civilization. New agreements that properly reflect our actual capabilities and contributions. He gestured to the display, which now showed a series of proposals that made every delegate's blood run cold. Humanity will assume responsibility for all deep space communication networks, with appropriate compensation for maintenance and expansion. We'll establish exclusive human rights to dangerous salvage and cleanup operations at market rates. We'll provide security services for threatened systems, with payment schedules that reflect the true value of protection. Each proposal was reasonable on its surface but would effectively transfer enormous power and influence to human control. Most importantly, Chen continued, humanity will be granted permanent seats on all major galactic councils, with voting power proportional to our economic contributions. The mathematics were devastating. If humanity controlled the services they were proposing to manage exclusively, their economic influence would make them the dominant power in galactic civilization within a decade. General Thorvax stood abruptly. This is unacceptable. You're demanding fundamental restructuring of galactic civilization based on threats and coercion. Chen turned to face the Ketheron general directly. General, we're requesting fair compensation for value provided. Nothing we've proposed involves threats or coercion. Your demonstration of military superiority constitutes coercion. Our demonstration of capability constitutes transparency, Chen corrected. We're simply being honest about what we can accomplish when properly motivated. Admiral Kirinth spoke up from her delegation area. And if the Council rejects these proposals? Chen's smile broadened. Then humanity will withdraw from all galactic community participation. As we offered originally, we'll maintain our own systems, provide our own security, and manage our own affairs. He paused to let the implications sink in. Of course, that would mean no more human maintenance of deep space communication networks. No more human cleanup of dangerous situations. No more human solutions to problems other species can't or won't handle. The threat was subtle but devastating. Galactic civilization had become dependent on human services in ways that ran far deeper than anyone had realized. Additionally, Chen continued, withdrawal would mean an end to our policy of sharing theoretical research through academic channels. Our technological advances would remain exclusively human property. Vorthak's crystalline form cycled through colors so rapidly it created a dizzying light show. You're demanding we choose between accepting human dominance or losing human cooperation entirely. We're offering a choice between fair partnership or complete independence, Chen corrected. The galactic community can recognize humanity as an equal partner, with compensation appropriate to our contributions. Or we can go our separate ways. The chamber fell silent as delegates processed the magnitude of what they were being offered. Accept humanity's terms and watch them become the dominant power in galactic civilization. Reject the terms and watch galactic civilization collapse as critical human-maintained systems failed. Chen checked his chronometer. The Council has 72 hours to reach a decision. During that time, all human operations will continue as normal. After 72 hours, humanity will implement whichever option the Council has chosen. He bowed formally to the Assembly. We thank the Council for this opportunity to clarify our position. We look forward to a productive relationship. However that relationship ultimately develops. As Chen walked back to his seat, every delegate understood that they had just witnessed the most polite ultimatum in galactic history. Humanity hadn't conquered anyone, hadn't destroyed anything, hadn't even made explicit threats. They had simply presented a bill, and the galaxy was about to learn that when humanity came to collect payment, saying no was not really an option. The emergency recess that followed lasted exactly 17 minutes before delegates began privately contacting their home governments with a simple message. Pay the humans whatever they want. Because the alternative was discovering what 3 centuries of accumulated human patience looked like when it finally ran out.